Yo, welcome to Living Good with Dominic Malone, where your life can go from just okay to life is good. Stay and you'll be empowered to live a fruitful life, one of peace, joy, and fulfillment. It's our first episode. I'm really excited, man. We've been working on this for a long time, and I just got off a 7-day fast, and this is the next piece of energy I'm putting out right after the fast. Y'all getting me at my most pure. Let's get into it. We're going to call it Divine Hotline one time and get today's lesson. Hello? Hey, what's up, big homie? How you doing? Yeah. So what's today's lesson? Oh, that's a good one. That's a good, we need that. We need that. I got you. No, yeah, I heard you. Yeah. All right, for sure. So today, the topic is stuck in a dead end life. How do you get out of that, right? Oh man, I'm excited to talk about this. Yeah, I remember being, I'm a vulnerable dude, so I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. I'll let you know where my life was. I remember being in a couple dead end situations in life. You feel me? Just not really understanding how to get out of things. Feeling like I was stuck. Feeling like whatever work I was putting into something, I wasn't getting anything out. I think the most recent situation, I was living out in DC for a while. This is some time ago. And I was like, man, I really just feel like this is not the job for me, man. Like something I love too. I used to teach, right? I used to be I was a dean of a high school, but back then I was just teaching. Not just teaching, I was teaching. Much respect to the teachers out there. I was teaching and I'm like, it's something more for me out here, man. I had started a company with the homies. I was living in DC. I'm like, there's something for me. I know I'm supposed to go somewhere. And I put in my 2-week, 3-week, 4-week notice, right? And it's funny because when you are about to change your life, you get hit with a crossroad moment where it's like you can stay where you at, or you can make that turn. So next thing you know, my supervisor calls me in. He's like, Mr. Malone. I think they called me Mr. James back then. I go by Dominic, you know what I mean? But they call me Mr. James back then. And he goes, how much you need to stay? I was like, you can't buy this, man. You can't buy this, man. I'm like, yo, that's hella enticing to be able to like low key write a blank check and blank salary for yourself. Cause I was that good at my job. And I was that entrenched in the team. But when you gotta move, right? So here we go. Oh, every time we start something, we are going to have an anchoring theme. So you know exactly where we're going. That'd be like our anchoring philosophy, all right? And then we'll go into self-knowledge, the self-work, and then we'll go into just like a closing, all right? So here we go. Here is the anchoring theme for today's show. Who you believe you are will dictate your life outcome. We'll say it again. Who you believe you are will dictate your life outcome. If you believe you're a dog, you're going to bark like a dog. You're going to seek belly rubs. You're going to eat out the bowl. If you believe you're a genius, you're going to move like a genius. You're going to seek other smart people out. You're going to make sure your ideas are expressed and heard and people can understand what you really need and what you really want. If these questions hit you, then this is for you, all right? Do you feel stuck in a place you didn't intend to be? If your answer is yes, then you should be listening to this. Do you feel like, I know I didn't come to earth for this bullshit. I know I wasn't born to be doing this my whole entire existence. If that question hit, this is for you. Can you sense that you are living underneath your greatness? If that hits you, then this one is for you. Oh man. I remember being, talk about living under your greatness. I remember being in the pandemic, right? Post-pandemic. I was on unemployment, right? I just left the job, not the same job I mentioned before, but another job. I just left it. And I'm like, I'm low key getting used to getting unemployment checks. So I'm not like hustling or working or like diving in the way I used to with the same veracity. You know what I mean? And then one day I was like, yo, you becoming dependent on this shit. And the next thing you know, it was time for me to like re-up. It was like a season where you can like reapply and get more unemployment, and you probably be good for like another like, I don't know, like 2 months. I forgot the occasion was. And I remember thinking to myself, nah, you can't reapply. Like if you reapply, you're gonna begin to condition yourself to depend on the government for your assistance or for your needs. And I was like, you are more than that. You just in a situation where you're trying to figure out if you can still do what you said you would do and be an entrepreneur, be a creative, be somebody who was successful, standing on their own 2 feet. So at that moment, I literally looked at the computer where it was like, do you want to reapply for unemployment? I was like, fuck it, time to take a leap. Like this, if you ever was going to do it, if you ever was like going to put your all into doing what you really meant, then this is the moment right now. So that's the moment where I was like, I'm done living under my greatness. I'm gonna dive in full, 100%, turn the throttle all the way up. And that is the moment where today I'm in a whole different place as an entrepreneur. You know what I mean? Super successful with it, having a good time running a family business, doing things all across the country, right? We get into that later. So living a dead-end life, right? How do you get out of that? By the end of this lesson, I want you to be able to have the knowledge to get out of it mentally, spiritually, and physically. Because everything we do impacts us on multiple dimensions of ourselves. Everything we do impacts us from the mind, the body, the spirit. All right. So there's some things you got to know about yourself in order to get out of the rut that you may be in. All right. So if I asked you right now to answer this question for me, who are you? What would your answer be? Some might say, oh, I'm black, I'm white, I'm Christian, I'm Muslim, I'm American, I'm Jewish, I'm Catholic. But what if I told you that's not who you really were? That there was another identity that you can embody that really puts you in a position to always be in the control seat of your life. So the way I like to think about it, I like to think of everybody being a divine being. You are a creative being. You are way more than your conditioned responses. Many times we begin to identify ourselves with our personality types. Oh, I'm angry, I'm a sad person, I'm an introvert, I have anxiety, all these things that you learn to be. But before you learned any of those things, who were you? And when you can connect your identity back to that baseline identity, that essence of who you are, I'm gonna say a divine being, somebody who comes from the Most High, right? And I think in the Christian faith, they may say something like, made in the image of God, right? Some might say, as above, so below, right? All these things give you little clues that like, you're bigger than the things that you learn to be. So I like to look at life 2 ways, right? I want you to think of yourself like a computer that operates 2 operating systems, right? Think about that. Back in the day, you used to be able to buy a Mac computer and run Microsoft on it. You could have 2 operating systems on one computer because you might have wanted Microsoft Word, but Mac didn't have that. So it allows you to run 2 operating systems. Your human experience is the exact same way. You have one being, but it has like 2 modes to it. You got your primal self and you got your divine self. And those 2 operating systems have different levels of goals for you. Let's say your primal self is like your animal. Some call it the ego, right? It's looking to protect you. It's like, yo, while you on this earth, I need to make sure you're alive. I need to make sure we safe. I'm worried about what people are saying. I'm worried about my what people will perceive of me. I'm worried about what's around the corner. It's literally in a constant state of making sure you're still breathing on this earth. The primal, the more animalistic side of yourself. It's the anger. It's the emotions. It's the sexual desires. It's I feel like eating a rack of sugar today because I just feel like it. It's the deep feelings, right? Which are important too. But then you have your divine self, which is always in a constant state of creativity and abundance, not worried about anything of lack. It knows it's protected. It's not worried or tied down by your emotions or your desires. It's literally like, I can do anything. And I know I have the power to because I'm tapped into the divine. It's connected to the source. So you have both of these operating systems going at 2 times, right? The same time in your life. Now, where things get interesting, and this is important, right? This is important because our topic, if you remember, our topic is stuck and dead in life. So I'm telling you how to perceive yourself so you won't be so drawn into the emotions of life and you can get yourself out the rut, right? Because first things first, if you done did in life, that means there's some choices and some decisions that you made that puts you in this particular circumstance. So let me just keep following my lesson here. All right. I wrote something out for y'all because I didn't want to just wing it. You feel me? All right. So you got 2 sides to yourself, primal and divine. You always have, every time you get to a crossroad moments where you're like trying to figure things out, you got to decide between these two pieces of your life. All right. Remember this. This is like a paradigm shifting piece of self-knowledge for yourself. What you believe informs your perceptions, and your perception dictates your actions. I'm gonna say it again. What you believe informs your perception, and what you perceive dictates your actions. So when I say, who do you believe you are? If you say, oh, I'm an anxious person, that means you look at your entire life through the lens of anxiety. If you say, I'm a depressed person, you look at your entire life through the lens of depression. If you say, I'm black, I'm white, I'm Asian, I am, whatever it may be, you begin to look at your life through the matrix of those things. This is why it's always important to remember that you are an infinite creative being, a divine being who can choose to create the reality that you will exist in. All right, let's keep going. It's all going to tie in. All right. I want you to think about yourself and your higher self, your lower self, your primal, your divine, right? So if you were in a stuck in a dead end, I would say, what beliefs do you hold that's not allowing you to see the possibilities of the moment? It could be a belief about your identity. It could be a belief about your possibilities. It can be a belief about your abilities. But until you source the core system of your beliefs, you will always be perceiving things based off your limitations of your beliefs and not what's truly possible. All right? But the beautiful thing is, in this life, we have free will. We always say that. Everybody says that. You know, you got free, as a human being, you got free will. You can do what you want to. You can do what you want to. You can do what you want to. All right. So that means if you have free will, you got the power of choice, right? You can literally choose what you decide to do in any moment, which means it's infinite possibilities. But what's the rubric for choice? What's the system for guiding what the right choice is that leads you to the right outcomes? So your superpower in this life, because you have free will, is choice. So it's up to you to choose between your primal and your divine at every single crossroad moment. You know, it's interesting because the crossroad moment happens when you're most tempted. A lot of folks get like interesting about temptation, but temptation is like some of the most important and dope moments of your life if you choose the right thing. All right. So I just wanted to give you those frameworks and that paradigm. Now we're going to move into what you can actually do to get out of the rut, right? So if you already in a position where you're stuck, here's what you do. I'm going to give you this self-work. This is the next part, self-work. You got to think about the version of yourself you want to exist as. Think. If you're stuck in a rut right now, that means your choices and your beliefs got you there. You have to assume all responsibility of your life. If you blaming other people for shit, this person made me do it. This person made me do it. My past trauma, my childhood, then you're giving all of your power of choice away to what happened to you in the past or what's persuading you right now. All right. So the self-work only works if you're going to assume full control of your life because you are a creative being. You feel me? All right, here we go. So I want you to do this. In your car, wherever you are, think about the version of yourself you would like to be instead of the version that you're existing in right now. What is that version? What do you do? What are the behaviors and the patterns that you exist as, right? Let's say you right now you're in a job where you're in a call center, but you really want to be in a medical setting helping patients out, right? So you have to imagine yourself like, okay, I am somebody who works in this space. What am I doing daily in that space? Okay. What do I have in that space? Do you have a car to get you there? Do you have a license? Do you have, you passed a test? What are the things that you have as this future self, right? You really got to envision this thing all the way. All right, so we're going to belief accounting, right? Here are the things you got to do if you really want to discover what beliefs are running underneath your actions, because your beliefs are like software. If your beliefs are undiscovered, just because you don't know what they are, doesn't mean they're not running. So what you're going to do is at the end of these instructions, you might want to pause it and actually do this self-work, right? Here on this podcast, on this show, we are going to do self-work. It's not about just telling you and helping you discover the learning. You're going to actually have instruction to discover these things. All right. So I want you to sit back and write out everything you believe about your ability to accomplish this goal. And if the moment you start writing, start thinking, you're trying to edit your thoughts. Just keep going for like 1 minute. And you're going to look at that paper and say, all right, here's what I really believe about my ability to accomplish this thing. And any thought that is negative or is not in alignment with the goal, you gotta recognize it and you gotta replace it. All right. Once you recognize that belief that's like, oh, you're not good enough yet to accomplish that goal, you have to replace it with something affirming. You have to replace it with something affirming. That's where you hear the things, affirmations and mantras. So for example, I want to be an entrepreneur who makes $1 million a year, but I'm not smart enough to do that. If you have that belief down, then you have to start reaffirming something else. I am more than capable of accomplishing my goal of becoming a millionaire. I am more than capable of accomplishing my goal of being a successful entrepreneur. All right. So remember this, right? If you're stuck in a dead end place, it has a lot to do with your belief patterns and your belief systems. If you believe you can't do it, then you won't do it. But to get to the nuances of those belief patterns, sometimes you got to take accountability of the belief that you already hold. And you can do that by literally taking time to write down in a free write or some other form where you're trying to become aware of your unconscious belief systems. And then once you get them and you see them in front of you, if there's anything that's not aligned with where you want to go, you literally should do the work to make an affirmation or reaffirm what you will do. Because if that software is running behind your consciousness, behind what you're aware of, it will still get in the way. All right? Remember, you have the power to change your life right now, but it does come down to what decisions you make. Thank you for kicking it with me, and we will see you in the next episode. Remember, you have the power to live good. Peace.